right, everybody. Welcome back to I'll Read What She's Reading. I'm Reggie.
I'm Michaela.
And I'm Kennedy.
And today we have another special guest. We have with us our favorite book talker, I would say, Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather. Hi. I'm so happy to be here. Like, genuinely.
I'm fangirling.
Yeah, same.
Oh, you guys emailed me and I was like, wait a minute. I'm obsessed with y'all's podcast. Yes, I'll be on.
Stuff that makes us so happy. Tell our listeners a little bit about you so they can get to know you in case they don't already.
My name is Heather. I make bookish content now, which I used to like make different type of content, but now I strictly make bookish content. I live in Texas. I like simple things in life, walking, reading my books, and listening to audiobooks, and crocheting, doing pottery, all the grandma hobbies. I have a dog and a cat, and life's pretty chill, and all I do for fun is read. So that's kind of me.
Oh my gosh, we're obsessed with you. We just love your content. And how can people find you? Like, what is your
TikTok handle?
Yeah. TikTok handle is Heath's book club, which is like literally Heather. People think it's, or Heath's book club, whichever. My friends call me Heath, like a lot of my close friends
that makes us feel good.
Yeah.
That's what we call
and
you.
Also, yeah, which is totally, like, a lot of my friends call me Heath or Heath, but I was going to do Heather's book club when I first started the TikTok account, and Heather's book club was taken. So I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. So then I tried Heath's book club, and then that was also taken. And so then it's Heath's book club. And that's my handle for my TikTok, my Instagram, and then YouTube is just Heather McLary. I did my full government name. That was crazy of me to do, but I did that like 4 years ago. I wish I could take it back and not do that now, but full government name is out there, so it's okay.
Love it.
I love it too.
For the longest time, we called you Heath.
Yeah.
We were like,
Which is fine.
Whenever we talk about you, we're always like, Heath.
Heather.
No, you can go by either. My close friends call me Heath. I had some really weird, or like my close friends I meet in college call me Heath. So it's nothing I haven't heard. And a lot of people, like, initially when you see my handle, like, you obviously think it's Heath, not like Heath. So I'm like, people like will come up to me in Barnes & Noble sometime and they'll be like, Heath, and I'm like, hi, what's up? So either works.
That's so fun that people come up to you at Barnes & Noble.
Occasionally.
That's so cute. That is so
very,
cool.
very occasionally, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hi. That's so nice of you to recognize me. I didn't realize I'm recognizable, but I appreciate it.
You are. You have a lot of followers on TikTok, and everyone is obsessed with your content.
mm-hmm.
Everyone is just obsessed with you.
I'm just here to have a good time and giggle and talk about the books that I love, and I love the bookish community. And I mean, I found it probably 2 years ago. I recognized that there was like a space for that in like content creation, or like there was creators who talked about books that they loved, and it is just my favorite thing ever. I just love that space on TikTok, and I mean, I'm on other platforms too, but specifically booktok, I'm like, it gets its hate, and I'm like, can you guys just leave us alone? Like, we're just trying to have fun and giggle about books.
That's what we want to see. So
Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your reader journey and how you kind of started your TikTok and your content?
So I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a reader up until about 2-3 years ago. I read as a kid, I would read books, but it was very much me rereading the same books over and over again. Like, I would reread Harry Potter and the Maze Runner series, and I didn't understand that you could branch out from those popular books, so I just kept reading them over and over and over again. And then and then I was in college, and it's like, you're doing so much in college and reading so many textbooks that the thought of reading a book didn't sound good. And then it's funny because I used to make van life content. I don't know if y'all knew that about me.
No.
So I actually had like 500,000 followers on TikTok on a different account.
What? How did we not know this?
You can't find it. I had a crush on a boy, and I deactivated the account.
stop.
No.
Because, okay, I might jump all over the place. So if I like miss points of the questions you asked me, just let me know and I'll like
No,
circle
we
back.
love this.
But so before I got into making bookish content, I made van life content because I lived in a bus. I traveled full time and I shaved my head during this period of my life. Like I was just like it was during COVID. It was like my early 20s. I'm 24 now, but I was like 20, 21. It was like, do these crazy things in your life while you can. And also the world is shut down, so you might as well. And I had a van life account under my full government name, Heather McLary, on TikTok. And I was wildin' and mentally ill, and you can't see that account anymore because I deactivated it because I was so scared that the boy I had a crush on would search my name and that would pop up. So now I just have my Hebs Book Club account. But initially, that's where I made my start in making content, which is wild.
Wow. You're blowing our mind right now.
Yeah.
Heather lore being dropped. My life is a little bit of a roller coaster over here.
So how long did you live in a bus? Did you renovate the bus?
Yeah. So during COVID, I graduated with my degree in nutrition and dietetics, and I graduated right when like the pandemic started, so I couldn't do anything with my degree. Like I couldn't get a job. The program I wanted to like do more school after that, and it was going to be online, and that just didn't work for me, and so I didn't do it. And the only job I could get, you guys, was at Walmart in the bakery with my college degree. So I worked at Walmart in the bakery, and I was like, this can't be the rest of my life, can it? Like, I just got a degree from school, and like, I can't get a job. So I did that, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to use my savings and buy a bus, and I'm going to travel while I can. So I did that. I bought a school bus off Facebook Marketplace for $3,500. My dad and I went and picked it up, and then I renovated it, and I left 8 months later. And then I traveled for 3 years.
That is so cool.
That sounds like a dream. Where did you go? Just everywhere?
Just everywhere out west. There's a lot of free camping out there, and I lived in the bus for 1.5 years, and then I ended up selling the bus, and I bought a little camper because I was like, I want more space, and I bought a truck, and I have my truck still. But I did both of those, the bus and then the camper, and I traveled full time. But while I was in the camper, that's when so circling back to how I got back into reading, that's where I saw a TikTok from Eamon. Do y'all know Eamon's books?
Oh, yeah.
So
Maybe.
she had posted a TikTok about beach read.
Okay.
I like vividly remember this TikTok. She was like, if Beach Read has no fans, I'm dead or something. And I was like, I kind of trust this girl. So I went and bought Beach Read like the next day. And then I started reading, and I like started accumulating all these books in my camper, like in the corner. And then I just like fell in love with reading from there. Stopped traveling eventually. And I was like, I was making like my full-time job was making van life content and stuff like that. And so at that point I was like, I want to keep making content, but I'm really tired of talking about my life because I don't like unsolicited opinions. And so I made a BookTok account. That's when I made the account. It was last January is when I made my BookTok account and my Bookstagram.
Wow.
I feel like
And
you
all
could write a
of
book
that.
about that.
Probably. A lot of people actually tell me to do that, and I'm scared.
Do you write? Like, are you a writer, would you say?
I have recently started getting into like writing when I have little short stories in my head, and or like writing when there's like a scene in my head, whether I want it to be like a fiction book or a nonfiction book. Just when I think about things, I've started to be more mindful about like taking the time to write when like my brain is going, and I like I don't know, have like reoccurring writing type ideas in my head. So then maybe one day I could, but I wouldn't say I'm good at all.
Well, I would read it.
I would read it too.
I know. She
Yeah.
published a book. I'd be the first one to buy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Maybe I'll do it then. You guys are boosting my ego a little bit.
There's a book by Hannah Bonham Young. I think it's called Next to You. Have you read that?
Yeah. And it's basically about me. So.
Yeah, no, literally, you were talking about that, and the girl renovates a bus, and the
Yeah.
entire time I was just like, oh my gosh, wait.
Yeah. And she's like tatted and super cool. When I was reading that, I wouldn't say Hannah Bonham Young, like we don't have like I have a couple relationships with authors that I like keep posting about their books. I've communicated with Hannah Bonham Young a few times, but not enough to where I would like DM her my thoughts about a book. But if we were on that communication level, like while I was reading that, I so badly wanted to be like, hey sister, you wrote this about me. Like, I just want you to know that like this is about me, but like we're not there. So I couldn't, but it is about me.
Now, if you guys go read that book, you're gonna picture Heather as
I
the
probably
main character.
will.
That one, and then Caught Up by Liz Tomford. Have y'all read that?
Is that the first of the Windy City, right?
That's the third one.
Oh, third,
so
okay.
the first one is Mile High, and then The Right Move, and then Caught Up. Caught Up, the girl in it, she's like a brunette with green eyes, tattoos, and lives in a van. And I was like, hey girl, you wrote this about me, right?
That's the times when it's really easy to picture yourself as the main character, because you literally are the main character.
Yeah, it's so fun. Very, very few times can you like actually picture yourself as the main character, but when you can, it's like, okay, this will be me one day falling in love, so that's great.
I know that's my toxic trait. If there's any characters that are described as similar to my features, I'm like, that's me. It's me in this book right now.
Yeah. And then it just makes the experience so fun. And it's so important to like obviously read books with characters that don't look like you.
Right.
But the few times that you can, like when you do relate a little bit too much, you're like, this is nice.
Okay, well, you said that you had like, you've talked to some authors, and you've had kind of a relationship with some authors, but tell us about your favorite authors.
Oh, I have so many, but I think a few of my, and I'll probably end up leaving out a couple to where I'll listen back on this episode and be like, Heather, come on, why didn't you mention that author? Obviously Emily Henry. I'm just like, there's something that I just relate so hard to her books, and the detail that she puts into it and the pining and the love that she writes just makes me feel so happy every single time. And I just feel seen when I read her books. So Emily Henry, and then completely other side of the spectrum of romance, Brynn Weaver. Have y'all ever read a Brynn Weaver book?
Yes.
I don't think I have.
I did. Okay, Butcher and Blackbird, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're so... She primarily writes about, like, serial killers, like, falling in love. So I don't... It's just, like, so out there and so crazy. And the story that's going on. I mean, the romance of it is fun, but I love the, like, comedy of, like, these serial killers for some reason. It's just, like, so enjoyable to read. And you just, like, giggle and you're like, this is insane. But I kind of like it. I really like her. And then I'm trying to think of, like, others. Why is my... Elsie Silver, obviously.
Okay, I haven't read any of her books. I have the first one in her... What is it?
Flawless?
Yeah, I have Flawless, but I haven't read it yet.
You
I haven't read it
should.
either.
Flawless is my least favorite out of that series, but that doesn't even mean anything. It's still great, and it's still fun. Her other series, which I don't see getting a lot of hype, or as much hype as it should, the Gold Rush Ranch series, that's the first... Like, those are the first books that I read by her before, and that was before her... like the Flawless and all of those books had even come out yet. I read her other series, and that one's also really good. It's less about cowboys and more about like men who work with horses that race. What is that called? Horse racing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like,
Derby?
Like jockeys?
Like Kentucky
Yeah, like
Derby?
like jockeys
okay.
and derby.
Okay.
That's the lingo.
Okay.
That sounds fun. Those are on my TBR, but maybe I'll move them up and read them.
I feel like
They're
that would
just-
be a fun... Like, any of those would just be a fun series, because I live in a really small town in Idaho. So all that old school, like, horses and ranches and stuff, I'm surrounded by that. And my husband's family owns a farm. And so I feel like that would be so fun to read about.
I think the first Western book I was because of you, and it was Done and Dusted.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think, you talked
if you
about it, and
liked-
I was like, yes. I'm
If
gonna
you liked
read it.
Done and Dusted, then you'll probably like the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver for sure.
Okay. That's good to
I'm gonna
know.
move it up.
I know.
It's just like giggly and fun, but like not too much spice, but like the perfect amount, because sometimes you're just like, okay, and then you have to like skip over the chapter. Or I know for me, sometimes I'm like, okay, like I get why you're putting this here, and like I know people will enjoy this, but I don't need this
You're
many
like, I want the
spice
plot.
scenes. Yeah, I feel like Elsie does the perfect ratio of like plot, and there's things going on, and there's relationship building and like tension happening, but then there's also like spice if that's something you enjoy reading.
That sounds fantastic.
I'm sold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
I need to
too.
move that up. I have the first one. I meant to read
I
it, but
think they're free on Kindle Unlimited, maybe.
Ooh.
Kate, you are the queen of Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
I love it's because my Kindle's my binky, and I like always want to be holding it, so I'm like, what book can I read next?
I love that.
Do you prefer reading like a physical book or on your Kindle?
On my Kindle.
Your Kindle.
Yeah, I hate to say that sometimes, even when I own the physical book, if the Kindle book is super cheap, I will buy it because you can lay in bed at night and it's just, you're just
It's so much
holding
more
it.
convenient.
It's not like I don't know, if I hold a book at night and I'm like laying backwards, it's gonna fall on my face. The Kindle doesn't. It's super light. So
Well, and they even have those little things where you just press a button and it changes the page for you.
I got
Insane.
one of those. It's great.
I need one. I think I actually have one in my Amazon cart right now.
Yeah, Reggie prefers to read on a Kindle as well.
Every single day I am becoming more of a Kindle girly by the day.
It's
I
like
haven't picked up a physical book in a hot sec. So
Once you start reading on the Kindle, it's so hard to go back because even when you're reading like these big books, if you're reading it on the Kindle, it's that big. Like it's not a big.
It doesn't
goes
cramp
by
your
so
hands.
much faster. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? Why in the world? Because I have a Kindle too, and I read some books on my Kindle. Why does it feel like I read on my Kindle so much faster than a physical book?
I don't know. Even when it tells you like 7 minutes left in the bottom corner, I'm beating that in 5 minutes, and then I'm like, yes, I got
it's
you.
like a game.
It's like a race. Like when you're
Literally.
on Apple Maps or Google Maps, like it says your estimated time, you're like, I'm going to get there before.
Yeah. You're like, no, actually, you said 45 minutes. I'll be there in 35, actually.
Yeah.
You talked about your favorite authors, which are romance authors. So would you say that romance is your favorite genre, or do you have a favorite?
I think romance is definitely my favorite, and I believe Kennedy Ryan. Do y'all know who that is?
Yes.
I believe she said what I'm about to say, so full credit to her. But the reason I love romance, and I think I heard her say this in like an Amazon collaboration or something, she was saying how she loves writing romance because you can go through all these like sometimes silly things, sometimes hard things, and sometimes, I don't know, you could just, there's so much development that can happen, and you can like really take the reader through just all these interesting topics and know there's probably going to be a happy ending, and like there's going to be this happy outcome with, I mean, with most romance books, at least with the romance books that I'm reading, like there's going to be a happy ending. I'm not reading anything to be sad at the end because why would I do that? Life stinks sometimes. But I just really like that with romance, like there can be so much depth to it, and at least in the books that sometimes I'm reading, and sometimes there's no depth, but most of the time I feel like you can add in all this depth and you can add in these very important topics, but like you can know that there's going to be a happy ending at the end. And that's why I like romance so much, because I mean, I also like seeing people falling in love and being happy and reading about different personality types falling in love. Even if it's like a personality type that I don't relate with or like have any relation to. Like I have friends that are like some of these characters, so I love romance. It's my favorite genre for sure.
Well, and kind of almost basically what you just said, there's so many different subsets of romance when you really think about it. I mean, you could consider romantasy a part of romance, but like from dark romance to just rom-coms, there's so much in between.
Yeah, there's so much you can add into it. You can like you said, dark romance, rom-coms, romantasy, like you can throw in so many different like genres within romance almost. And I think that's just what makes it so fun.
I love romance. It's so fun.
Also, when people are talking about books on TikTok specifically, I'm more prone to be hooked when you're talking about like a scene from a romance book. There's something about talking about a scene from a romance book on TikTok that makes me bookmark it so fast, because most of the time it's like very unhinged scenes and I'm like, save, I'll be reading that later. And so then I just keep reading romance books.
Yeah, the epic one-liners in romance books are top tier. Yeah.
The out of context quotes, I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but you got me.
I am reading this book right now.
No, literally. I'm like, is it on Kindle Unlimited? Because it's 10 p.m. at night and I can't go to the store.
That's so fun. I feel like, love to sprinkle in romance. I mean, I would love to know
Y'all
your
read a lot of
thoughts.
fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I personally have a hard time reading a book if there's not a romantic element to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Like, have you read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch?
No, I haven't.
I
but
didn't know.
I don't even know if I've heard of that.
Oh, you need. I don't know if you would like it based off, but there's like a romantic element to it that I
Okay.
didn't think was going to be part of this
plot?
plot. Like I just finished it this morning, and I was like, that was such a romantic book, but I wasn't expecting it to be romantic because it's like sci-fi. I don't know what kind of genre would you say?
It's sci-fi, yeah.
Yeah. Loved it, and I think one of the
Yeah.
reasons I loved it so much is because there were so many little romantic elements to the storyline.
Yeah.
So
There's something about romance that just like I feel like even as a woman, it just like speaks to our souls because it's just so beautiful. And like when you throw it into even a book like that, where like you weren't expecting it, and then you're just like, oh wait, like this is actually so lovely.
yeah, and we love how women write men.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, yes, yes.
So
Well, I guess, do you have a favorite book boyfriend?
Oh my gosh.
if you had to pick your top 3,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I know.
world's hardest question.
Again, I know I'm gonna listen back to this and be like, Heather, you should have said so and so. But off the top of my head, I think it's Cade Eaton, who is in Heartless by Elsie Silver, and he is the love of my life. Single dad. I literally. Hold on, actually, it's in my purse right here, and I'm going to show it to you guys. I have a pin that someone sent me. Oh, I better find this. And it says, I love single dads on it. And it is specifically, there it is, I love single dads.
Stop.
And when I look at this pen, and when I pin this on my clothes, it is specifically for Cade Eaton, because I love that man. I think about him twice a day, and that's a problem.
So is that your type, single dads?
I guess. But
I'm teasing.
pets can be included. It's okay if it's a pet, you know.
Okay.
Gotta keep my mind open, you know.
Yeah.
Slim
Pets are
pickings.
kids.
And then second, well, these actually aren't in ranking because I can't rank them. Dallas Walker from Wait For It by Mariana Zapata.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't know if have y'all ever read a Mariana Zapata book before?
No, but you know what? You were the
should.
first person. I'm like, you talk about her a lot, I feel like, on your TikTok. So the more
I
I'm
do.
seeing, the more I see you talk about her, I'm like, okay, what is it called? The Wall of Winnipeg
The
and Me?
Wall of Winnipeg and Me. Here's the thing. I could yap all day about Mariana Zapata. She writes slow burn romance books. But like what's different about them is like the characters are not getting together truly or like even flirting until like really far into the book. So you really are seeing them like build a connection, build a friendship, but like just the way she writes it, you're so invested because sometimes with the slow burn book, you're like, they're giving us nothing. What do we do with this? Like, come on, let's speed it up. But with hers, it's just so beautifully, like there's the flow of it is so great, and they might not be making eye contact till 75% into the book, but it's okay.
and when it happens,
You
you're like,
scream.
yes.
You screaming.
And when their knees knock under the table, suddenly my Kindle is thrown across the room. Like,
So relatable.
but Dallas Walker, he is in the book Wait For It, which originally wasn't my favorite. My favorite was originally Colty by her, but then I did a reread of Wait For It back in January. And Dallas just has a buzz cut. He's like kind of mean. He's not mean, but he's just a little standoffish. But he's an acts of service man. Like he loves people through like little acts of service. He helped this girl get lice out of her and the kids she like cared for's hair. And like that, explaining that to somebody and being like, he took the lice out of her hair. I'm like, if someone told me that, I'd be like, girl, what are you reading? But it worked.
Yeah. That's like the most romantic thing ever.
No, so romantic, right?
If he wanted to, he would, you know?
Yeah.
So
If he wanted to, he would.
Exactly.
One more, right?
Yeah,
One
give us
more.
one more.
Guys, this is really difficult. I'm trying to like look around at my books because I don't know if I could come up with a third one. Probably Gus from Beach Read. That's a safe bet to say. I'm
He
just gonna say
Precious
that.
angel.
he is precious.
Precious angel boy, and also with that being the first book that got me back into reading, I just have like an emotional connection to it and an emotional connection to him. And also like him being a writer just does something to me. I'm like, oh wow, we love you for that.
That was actually my last Emily Henry book of hers that I read besides Funny Story, and I can't get it out of my mind.
It's
So
just
do you-
so beautiful.
I have a question for you. Do you have like a fan cast for Beach Read? Like, is there an actor you picture, or is it just like you picture just this person that doesn't exist?
So something about me, I can't picture anything in my head. So like even when I read, I don't know if y'all are like this, but like even when I read, I can't like picture anybody ever. So because of that, I'm so bad at like fan casting because it's just like nothing up here but like thoughts, no pictures. So I don't, unfortunately. But I feel like if someone came to me with a picture and said, "What do you think of this guy for Gus?" I would be like, yes or no, obviously.
Yeah.
Because it's being turned into a movie, right? It's been picked up.
I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to say most of her books have been picked up
Yeah.
for something.
I feel like the most popular one for Gus for some reason is Harry Styles.
Oh, I'm a no. It's a no for me.
I've seen that on TikTok so many times.
I
have
am
too,
afraid if
actually.
Harry Styles was Gus, and the Harry Styles girlies are going to come for me, but I'm afraid if he was Gus, I would be so sad because I don't want that.
We are Harry Styles girlies. But it's
I
okay.
love Harry Styles.
It's okay. No, I
I
get
have
it.
his
I get
sticker
it.
on the back of my truck. His stickers are on my truck, literally. My big like F or 2500 diesel truck is like Harry Styles on the back. I love him. But him and Gus, they don't mesh in my brain.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I actually don't know if I have a fan cast for him.
I don't either.
He just has brown hair. Curly hair? I think it's brown curly hair. And he has some tattoos, right?
Maybe?
I think I may be
Actually,
confusing a lot of books.
I actually don't remember if he has tattoos or not.
I can't remember. Now I'm
Well, it goes to show you that it's not about the looks.
true.
It's not no, because when I think of Gus, I think about the words that he said, you know?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
a man with words.
A man with words. A man written by a woman with words.
Literally, though. Okay, kind of jumping to a different topic. What are you currently reading right now?
So what I'm currently reading right now is Misery by Stephen King, which is such a jump because we've been talking about romance this entire time. And while I love romance, I'm in a little bit of a romance rut when it comes to books because I feel like a lot of the ones I've been reading this year have been very copy and paste. And I read so many books, and because of that, like I can't handle the copy and paste at the moment. So I thought I would switch it up for a week and read
week.
thrillers and a week. I'm like, we're gonna start with a week and we'll go from there. So I started reading Misery by Stephen King. Have y'all ever read that
no.
or heard about it?
I read Fairy Tale by Stephen King. That was my first
Okay.
Stephen King, but I haven't read that one. I've heard a little bit about Misery, though.
This one, apparently it's so good. Every time I tell people that I'm reading it, they're like, oh wow, I actually really loved that. And I specifically asked for like horror recommendations on my Instagram the other day. And I was telling people when they were like DMing me, like, do you like gore? Do you like how scary can you handle? I was like, hey, I had a panic attack when I watched Bird Box. So like, I can't do anything crazier than that. And they were like, got it. You should read Misery and you'll be okay. And I was like, thank you. So it's about this author. I am only like 5 chapters into it, but at the very first chapter, this isn't necessarily a spoiler because it literally happens in the first chapter. I think he gets like hit by a car or something. I don't know. His legs are broken. And all of a sudden he wakes up and his biggest fan, who he knows by her name, because apparently he's like, he knows who his number one fan is of his books, is like the nurse taking care of him. And she basically holds him captive in her remote home in the middle of nowhere. And that's all I know so far. But at the beginning, his legs are broken and he's like, where's my wallet? And she's like, I'm keeping it in a safe space. Here's some soup. and also here's a pill, and like he tries to move and he's in so much pain, and then he like asks her if she has anybody that like works because she has a lot of land, and he's like, do you have animals? And he's like, I asked her if she had animals to like see if there was anybody else out here, and she's like, no, not really. And he's like, there's nobody else out here, and she is crazy. What am I doing here, and like what's going on?
Oh,
So.
that sounds intense.
Yeah, I'm actually sold. That
Yeah, what the
sounds
heck?
so good.
It's so intense. Like I was doing like a TBR video for YouTube the other day, and I like knew I wanted to read that, but I didn't actually know anything about it. So like I'm recording my video and I'm like, oh my, like yelling, oh my God, over and over again as I'm like reading what it's about, because I'm like, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Just like your number one fan of your books holding you captive. Because I think, oh my gosh, wait, this is on the back of the book. He was going to kill off one of the characters in his book, and she like didn't want him to or something. And so she like wants him to write the next book like how she wants it, or like just for her.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy.
Gasping.
Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I'm here for it.
I'm here. We love a good thriller. We have felt like a lot of the thrillers we've been reading recently haven't been able to like shock us or like.
What are I think I saw a clip of you guys talking about how y'all wouldn't rate thrillers like 5 stars or something like that. What are some of the thrillers that like, you might have mentioned this in a podcast episode, so if you just want to briefly tell me, go for it. Like, what are some of the thrillers that you've read recently?
Well, we read the reappearance of Rachel Price just barely for a book club.
That's right there.
It honestly was pretty good. I think our average rating between the 3 of us was 3.5 stars. So it wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah, and it's pretty like tame because it's YA.
Yeah.
I like the way Holly Jackson does things.
Yeah.
Did y'all read the Good Girl's Guide to Murder by her? Okay, me too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. That was like the first kind of. I mean, I guess you could. Dark Matter I was spooked.
I just read the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's like a murder mystery thriller. It was pretty good. He basically, you repeat the same day 8 times, just in different people's bodies though, like different characters. So that was kind of fun, but it wasn't spooky or thrilling. So I'm really excited to see, because we all follow you on Goodreads. I'm really excited to see your review on Goodreads when you finish this book.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to let you know. It'll be very detailed for sure.
Yeah.
I think the last book that I think all rated higher than 4 stars was The Only One Left by Riley
Sager.
What is do y'all know what the cover of that one looks like? I know his book's based on the cover.
Blue and like red.
There's like a house on top of a cliff.
Oh, is that was it a newer release?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't read that one yet because I've heard very mixed reviews. Did y'all like it?
Yeah. I think we did because, well, at least for me, I feel like because I've read a lot of thrillers, I guess the ending of books, and so I'm like, oh, dang it. But I do it to myself because I'm like, playing everything out. I'm like, it has to be this because of this, and it has to be. It's my own fault for doing that. But I feel like at the end of this book, I was like, I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
It's a lot of plot twists.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I think I finished the last half of the book in like one sitting because I couldn't put it down because I had to figure it out. So you might like it.
Back to my TBR because I've read a few Riley Sager books before. I think I read Lock Every Door and Survive the Night, and both of those I felt like I think they were both 3.5 stars for me. They were just like all right. They just felt like a little bit more mystery than thriller, but they were supposed to be thriller. So then I was like, where's the thrill? And also this is so slow. But I just thought they were all right. So I haven't read another since then, but I might add that one to my TBR.
Have you read, a lot of people were saying on that TikTok you were talking about to read Pretty Girls by, is it Karen? Something. Have you read Pretty Girls? I can't remember who the author is. My sister read that and she said it was absolutely wild. Okay. But she was like, look up the trigger warnings because it's really intense. So I don't know how intense that is. I was just curious if you had read it because so many people told us.
I saw a comment about that I think a little bit ago, but I will add that one to my TBR too, because sometimes when people like really go into detail about how much they loved the book, and there were a few comments where people were like, "This one, Pretty Girls," so I will have to add that to my TBR for sure. I need a
But
thriller that's gonna like wow me. I recently this past week was reading thrillers and I DNF'd two of them because
Which
I was just
ones?
like, um, the a woman in the window, the woman in the window.
That
Have y'all read
one's
that?
so slow. It's so slow.
Slow. And also like I have a really hard time with unreliable narrators sometimes, and like not unreliable and not like crazy or like not mentally ill. Like I don't know, sometimes when the narrator is just not fully there, I'm like I don't know. I like obviously don't fully trust you and your judgment, and so then sometimes I just can't do it. Other times I'm like I get why the author wrote this unreliable narrator, but in this case I was like I don't want to do this, so I DNF'd it.
I don't blame you, because I almost did too. But the ending wasn't worth it in my opinion. So
Okay, that's good to know then.
And what was the other one you DNF'd?
I think The Wrong Family, maybe. But I might
don't
actually,
think I've heard
I
that.
might actually pick that one back up because I was listening to the audio of it, and I don't even know how to describe it. So when I originally bought the book and wanted to read it, I thought this lady named Juno was going to live with this perfect family, and then she like lived with them, and she realized, hey, they're not so perfect. She wasn't going to live with them. She's like living in their house without them knowing that she's living there in the closet.
That sounds
Because
like my
she's
worst nightmare.
homeless.
Yeah.
But I didn't get far enough to fully hear her backstory. I just know that I think she has, is it lupus? Is that the disease that, she had the same disease that Selena Gomez has.
Yeah,
Yes.
like
Okay.
autoimmune, yeah.
I think she had lupus, and so she had a lot of health problems, but she was homeless. She couldn't get the health care, and I didn't get any more of her backstory other than that, and that she made her way into their house, but every time that they would leave, they would set the alarms so she couldn't get out. And so, like, she just kind of, like, lived in their closet, and then I stopped because I was just like, what is going on? I think I might actually pick that one back up, but
I'm
for a
intrigued.
while, I was just like, you know when you go into a book with expectations or like you go into a book thinking it's going to be something and then it's not, I was just like, why is this lady living in there? It was just my expectations were
Yeah.
totally different.
Yeah.
But I might pick that one back up. It's really short. I think it's like 250 pages maybe.
Oh, so it's not
It's
much
not
of a
long,
commitment.
Yeah.
No, it's not much of a commitment, and I need to recommit for sure.
How often do you feel like you DNF books?
So I actually just posted, it's funny, I posted a TikTok right before this. I've DNF'd 7 or 8 books this year. What is it? It's May. Not very often. I feel like most of the time I push through, unfortunately, which I love to tell people, like, if you're not liking a book, stop reading and go, because there's so many other good books out there. But I always end up pushing through most of the time. But I've DNF'd probably 7 or 8, maybe 9 out of this entire year. But I've also read like 50 books. So I feel like that balances a little
Yeah.
bit.
That's a good ratio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's a good ratio.
Well, and sometimes, like what you were saying, you DNF a book just to pick it back up later because you're just not in the mood.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes like sometimes like I was explaining my DNFs or why I DNF'd the books I have this year. Sometimes I DNF for the silliest reasons, or sometimes I'm about to start my period and like I'm being really moody and like those characters are bickering just a tad too much and it's not working for me. So that's why I always tell people, even if I do DNF a book, I'm like, give it a shot if you're interested, because I could have just been in a really bad mood that day. And most of the time, like, I was. So it's not a bad book. I'm just the problem here.
Yeah, I feel that.
We
for
always
sure.
say that we're the problems, not the books, unless
Yeah.
they're really bad. But
Yeah, like right book, wrong time.
yeah.
Yeah, I always say right book, wrong time. And also, like, I feel like I'm just very respectful when it comes to books, because some books that work for me aren't going to work for other people, or in some books that don't work for me are going to work for other people. So because I have like a platform in this bookish space, like I never want to be the reason somebody doesn't pick up a book that they've been like really eager to read. And so it's very rare that I like come on and be like, that book was bad. Like I think I've said that one time about one book. And then most of the other times I'm like, it wasn't for me, but if you want to read it, give it a shot.
Yeah,
Nice.
I feel like there's a lot of comments. You know, there's just a lot of variety when it comes to like when you talk about a certain book of some people being like, I loved it so much, like just like you. And then there's also like, why did you rate it so high? I hated it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I liked it and it's okay if you didn't, you know?
Yeah.
There's just a variety when it comes to books. Just Reggie always says different strokes for different folks.
That's one way to put it. It's just reading is subjective. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah. Well, speaking of all, we've talked a lot about like books. We've had a lot of talk about like our to be read. So tell us, is there a book that is on your TBR right now that you are very excited to read? Like, what's your most anticipated?
I think Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, which comes out, I
Ooh.
think, in June. I've recently been an Ali Hazelwood girly because it's just like silly STEM romances, and the nutrition STEM major in me, like I thrive on that. And I don't know if that one's a STEM romance, but that's what kind of got me hooked into Ali Hazelwood. That one comes out sometime this year, and I'm very, very, very excited for that one. But I'm hoping I'm out. I need to get out of this little romance rut before that one because I'm like so excited for it, but also I would hate for it to come out and me still be like meh towards romance. So, but other than that, I don't know. I just feel like I read so much, so I like hit the books I want to read so fast. So there's never like a book where, which is kind of a problem. Sometimes I want to be like, let me take a break from reading so then I can like really have that feeling of like, I want to read this book so badly. But other than that one, I don't think there's really any major ones that are, I'm trying to think. I think that's kind of it.
What's
Just not
your
enough.
favorite? Have you read all of her Ali Hazelwood books?
I've read most of them. I think my favorite is Love Theoretically. It's like for sure my favorite. There's something about that one and Bride by Ali Hazelwood, which a lot of people do not like it, and I totally understand. Unfortunately, it worked for me. Like it really worked.
No, we love that it works for you.
Yeah.
I remember seeing your Goodreads review, and that's one of the reasons we picked it as a book club book.
Yeah.
Did y'all not
Recently.
like it at all?
No, we did.
I rated it 4 stars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I was just so unaware of like the Omega verse type stuff.
Like the Wolfie lingo.
Yes, I had no idea that was literally even a thing until I read it. I was like, what is going on? And so it just took me by surprise. It just was a little bit of a surprise for me.
Yeah, it's like I was on Wattpad at the ripe age of 14, so I was really deep into that
yes.
as a kid. So when I was reading it, like, and I think even in my review, I was like, this healed me, and like I felt like I was 14 again, and I had just stolen my dad's laptop at like 3 a.m. in the morning to read Wolf Smut. So that's why I liked it so much. I felt like a kid.
I liked how it was just different.
Yeah.
It was just a different, like something you really haven't seen, I feel like on booktok in general.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a fun, different read. It just, took me by surprise.
And I think it was a good, like, compared to other Ali Hazelwood books. Obviously, she still kind of had that little STEM element in there, but it was very different from her other books, which was nice.
Yeah, I think it was a jump a little bit, but it was really fun. But she used to write what is it called? Fan fiction on AO3.
Oh, okay.
But they took it all down. But some of the people that had downloaded all of her AO3 fan fictions had emailed the copies to me, and I was reading them, and this is like, once I read them, you're like, okay, this is not a jump for her. This is like what she's been doing. Because I read a few of them and I was like, oh my gosh, Ali Hazelwood, what are you doing? Like, where did the STEM romance come from? Because you used to be writing Wolfie Smut. She used to be deep in writing like Raylo fan fiction, but they were like alphas and betas and wolves, and I was like, Allie, how did I not know this?
Oh, wait, I had no idea.
I didn't either.
I didn't either until people like, I love the book community because sometimes they'll just message you with this lore, and I'm like, I didn't know,
How
but
enlightening.
send me a copy. Here's my email.
That's
love
so
that.
fun.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
I've read all of Ali Hazelwood's books, even like her novellas, and I don't know, there's something about her books that I just really like. I don't know.
They're
Maybe it's
just,
the
like-
STEM factor. I'm like, go you. Like that.
They're just fun.
Yeah.
Very
They're fun.
mindless too. Love Theoretically is definitely my other favorite. That one is very STEM, and I just like I just giggled the entire time I read that. And also she has a little bit of relatability in there with like healthcare issues or like some other things that the characters communicate with, and you're like, wow, they're real people. It's not like I'm reading about this billionaire falling in love. It's like these are people
Yeah.
that have issues that I have.
But to fall in love with a billionaire would be.
Oh, I'm waiting.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Me being like, "Hey, share the wealth sometimes," and then I read about a billionaire and I'm like, give it to me, like give it to me, I want it.
I'm rooting for you for
Yes.
that. I think that's just written in your cards. The billionaire
I'd be
romance
scared.
thing.
I would actually be so scared. I don't know if I could do it.
Well, we will
Give
be
me a man
anxiously
with a
waiting.
good job.
Good job. Yeah, I'll be waiting for your love story.
Because you got to write that book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Heather, we had so much fun chatting with you.
It was so
And
nice to chat with
I know you in the
guys.
beginning you shared like where we can find you and everyone listening. So we'll link those in our show notes so people can come connect with you.
This is so fun.
Yeah, so fun. Yeah, thank you.